much for being here with us today, celebrating National School Choice Week. Andrew Campanella is the president of National School Choice Week, and he has dedicated his career and his life to the movement. So it's such an honor to be with you today. I know that you're celebrating nationwide through all the states, how beautiful a school choice is, and this celebration. Like we had the city of Henderson turning their lights yellow and red yesterday, and seeing all the support that we're getting right now for a school choice week, it has been, great, amazing. I feel so happy, even under the circumstances. So how are you, Andrew?
I am doing great, and it is so good to see you, Valeria, and it's so good to talk with everybody on Facebook Live in this event. And School Choice Week is going great. It's a difficult time for a lot of folks out there. We have this awful pandemic, and it has upended education as we know it, and it's certainly made School Choice Week tougher because we're not doing in-person events. We want to keep people safe. At the same time, we are seeing more interest among parents in school choice than I have ever seen in my life. And so that is a good thing. And we have a tough job ahead of us because we have to help inform as many of those families as possible about their options.
Yes. Last year we were like so happy to be celebrating School Choice Week in Las Vegas. We had a big school choice fair, one of our biggest ones. Over 1,000 parents were there, and we also did it in northern Las Vegas, in northern Nevada, sorry. And it was our first one, and we also have hundreds of parents. So I have a ton of parents asking this year for a School Choice Week, but I'm happy to report that we are celebrating doing a school choice contest. Particularly I was talking to some of people from National School Choice Week just yesterday, and telling them how we got 52,000 hits on our Spanish Facebook page and over 40,000 in our English Facebook page. So I wanted to share very quick, because a lot of people doesn't, and then we get to the good stuff. What is the School Choice Week and how you guys have started? But I wanted to share with our parents and our families that are here. Here is our Spanish contest, and can we see this? Are you able to see?
Yes, I see it. It looks fantastic.
And we also have here's on our page. So if anybody wants to come and vote for the families, it has been really incredible to be able to be celebrating with so many families and receiving so much attention from this. If parents were going to be looking and being able to vote or send us photos, but receiving so much love, and we see you, Noel, and we see you, Jessica. We're receiving already questions from everyone.
Yay! Hi, everybody.
Yeah. So this is a really great question that we're getting from Jessica, and she's asking us, how do we spread the word about school choice during this pandemic? What is a school choice? Let's start with that, and how you got involved with this.
Oh, okay. So school choice means empowering moms and dads all across the country to choose the schools or learning environments that best meet their children's needs, interests, talents, abilities, challenges, you name it. It means telling parents and giving them the confidence that they are the experts when it comes to their kids, and that they are better qualified to choose their children's educational path than anybody else out there. And so we at School Choice Week, and I know you guys in Nevada, focus on all the options that parents have: traditional public schools, public charter schools, public magnet schools, private schools, online schools, and homeschooling. And so we treat all of those options equally. We don't think any one type of school is better than any other. We think that's up for parents to decide. And so the question was, how do we spread the word about school choice during this pandemic? And I will tell you, last year in Nevada, Valeria, you and your team put on some amazing school fairs, some of the best in the country. And I looked at those pictures, not just as the events were happening, but afterwards, in just awe and amazement and gratitude because of all the families you helped. So it is harder this year. and there is more interest in school choice at the same time. So that means that I encourage every parent out there, if you want to help raise awareness, post about it on social media, text your friends, email your friends, and start the conversations. Because in our polls and research, parents listen to other parents more than they listen to anybody else out there when it comes to school choice advice.
Yes, and I agree with we have so much interest. I mean, I can barely keep up with so many parents asking me right now, how do I find another option? What options do we have in Nevada? Like, and we have seen, I don't know if you saw the New York Times post talking about
Yes.
what is happening. And we have a lot of students and families that are right now desperately looking and not knowing where to find choices. And that's why I saw it was so important to talk to you today about how do we find the right school for my child, and not talking bad or poorly about anyone, because each experience is different. For example, during this pandemic, I had everything planned out. I have planned my kids and my family were, we spent a lot of time trying to figure it out what was going to be the option for my child. And I ended up deciding creating a pod. A pod means that just a few kids and a teacher go to a school, and this is what is working for us. And it has been fantastic. But other families don't know what is the difference between a charter school and magnet schools. Sometimes they tend to think that a charter school might be a private school.
Right.
And then you have opportunity scholarship that unfortunately right now is closed to only the students that receive them. So it's not, we have long waiting lists, but due to legislation, we're not able to give more scholarships, and we're going to be fighting for that the next legislative session. But for the parents that right now don't have options, I want you to provide some resources. I know your website and all this School Choice Week is basically that, a national awareness campaign to help families understand what a school choice is. For me as an immigrant, first generation, when I came to the US, I have no idea with all this terminology. And as a mom, it was so overwhelming to even think, hey, I work in education, I'm a school education advocate. And it's even harder for me. So when your book came out, it was like, finally somebody's making this process easy. So tell us a little bit about, your book. And let's start there, and then we can maybe go for the differences between the schools. But let's start how do you find the right school for your child? We know that this is something that I have only one child, and just to think about that I'm going to leave him for a couple hours while I work is highly stressful.
Sure. So great question. And yes, stressful is the word that parents use when they talk about how to find a school for their child. They find the process stressful and overwhelming. And we've tested this, and that's what families say. And our goal at School Choice Week is in part to take some of that stress away from parents, and instead of being overwhelming, give them confidence. And the way we do that is through unbiased, comprehensive, and jargon-free information. So I'll talk about the resources that we at School Choice Week provide, and then I'll go into the book. So what we did during this quarantine year at School Choice Week is our whole team put in a ton of time to developing the single most comprehensive website available anywhere on the internet, where families can find information about school choice options in their state, where they can get step-by-step tips on actually how to start the school search process, filled with worksheets and videos to help them, for example, ask questions on a school tour. And we launched today a brand new school search feature on our website called Schools Near Me. In addition, we've added a bunch of other resources that are helpful and very timely too. For example, we have hundreds of vetted resources designed for families to help augment their children's learning during this pandemic. We have resources for educators on how to help kids prevent what's called learning loss, which we're seeing this year, and also resources designed to help educators best support students with special learning needs or individualized education programs. So we have all those resources on our site, and they're not just there for School Choice Week. It's sort of a new era for us. We're going to be updating these resources every week of the year round, and this will be a year-round hub of information for parents. Now, you mentioned my book, and I'm going to shamelessly hold it up. This is the abridged version, and this is the full-size version. I have been working.
There's a big version too. I love that.
Okay, so the big version and the little version. You can get either one of them, and a lot of the information is free at schoolchoiceweek.com. But I've been working in education for more than 15 years, and one of the things that I noticed last year, 2 years ago, is that for a field that touches everybody's life, education is one of the most user-unfriendly fields. There is so much terminology and so much jargon that doesn't make sense to people working in education, let alone to parents. And I realized that that terminology was really becoming a barrier for so many families starting the process of looking for schools for their kids. And parents would come up to me and say, I want to make a good choice for my child, but I don't know where to start. And I'm afraid of making the wrong choice. So how should I start? And so I got to thinking, what resources are out there that we can share with parents? And we didn't find much. So I set out to write a book about it. And the book is the School Choice Roadmap, and it really takes you through a self-directed process of finding a learning environment that is right for your child. I'm not trying to steer you towards one type of school or away from another. It all starts with the first step, and that's thinking about your own perspective as a mom or dad on education. What did you like about school? What did you learn in school? What do you wish you'd learned in school, but you didn't? All of those things from your own educational experiences, they inform your decision-making process now for your child. After that, the next step is also focusing on your family and yourself, not about schools in particular. It's about thinking about your goals for your child. Who do you want your child to turn out to be? What are your biggest hopes and dreams for your kid? So important to think about those things because you don't want to lose sight of them or lose track of them as you're jumbling a list of schools. Then the third step is, I want you to think about what you need from a school for your child. What are the absolute needs you have? Things that you can't live without. And then a list of wants. And people will say to me, gosh, I don't know how to differentiate between a need and a want, and I don't even know where to start the process of thinking. We have a worksheet on our website, schoolchoiceweek.com, that'll give you about 30 things that you can rate and rank about whether it's a priority for you or not. And you can add anything else you want to that. There are no wrong answers here. This is about you and your family, what you need and want. Then I want you to look into the school choice options in your state. We have roadmaps for each state for free on our website at schoolchoiceweek.com. Make a list of schools in your area. And I tell families, don't exclude private schools because you think they're too expensive. There are scholarships available in many cases. So consider public, charter, magnet, private, and don't forget online schools. In Nevada, there are free public online schools and also homeschooling. So you look at all your options, you make a list of all your schools, then you start visiting schools, or this year, doing virtual tours or phone interviews and asking a lot of questions. And in the book and on our website, we help you write questions that focus on your child's needs and your family's experience. Once you do that, you're going to narrow down the options, talk as a family, make a choice, and apply. So I just ran through the book in about 2 minutes.
Yes, and we have questions already. They're asking us, where can we get the book? Because, I'm sure that we can find it in your website, which is nationalschoolchoiceweek.com, right?
Yeah, if you want to get the book, the best place actually, I think the cheapest price now is on Amazon. So you go on Amazon and get the book. You can buy it in paperback, you can buy it in Kindle, and you can also do the audiobook version. And just point of note, that's not actually my voice, but there is an audiobook version of the book.
That's fantastic. I've been learning about that lately, how to start listening to books when you don't have time to. And in your car, you're driving to places, you're going to do groceries and drop off the kids. It's such an easy way to do this today.
Yeah, and I I wrote the book, and then they said, we want to do an audio book of it. And I said, oh, great, I'll happy to record it. And they said, you know what? You did a good job writing it. Let's let a professional record it. And I said, fine, no problem here.
I had a friend just telling me that, you know, she wanted me to read a book, and I said, I don't have time right now to read a book. She says, there's always, so I finally, you know, I finally learned about this, and it has been great. And it makes it easy. So somebody like they're asking us, how do we participate in a school choice week? That's a really great question. Thank you, Elvira, for asking that.
So the best way to participate this year is first, work with folks like Valeria in Nevada. She's probably got some great ways that you can participate. You had a contest up earlier. I want everybody to enter that contest if you're eligible. Also, if you're a parent and you have chosen a school for your child, you've gone through this process and you're really happy with the choice you made, I want you to share your story today on social media. Post photos, post videos, post inspirational information. Give parents tips and suggestions because they will listen to you. And the more people we have talking about their own authentic, genuine stories, the better. Because you can be the inspiration that gets another mom or dad to say, you know what, I can do this too. I want to follow that other parent's example, and I want to find a great option for my child. So get out there and post. And don't forget to tag us on Twitter. We're at School Choice WK, and on Facebook and Instagram, we're at School Choice Week.
Andrew, I hear you in another interview early this week. You said that National School Choice Week started 11 years ago.
Yes.
What was the motivation behind? A lot of people sometimes they see me wearing now more because I share 52,000 people have seen our social media. That's the minimum just in one area. So and I've been seeing the circle, like I've been seeing a lot of families that have changed even their Facebook profiles into yellow. And you guys have done a phenomenal job in bringing awareness. But what motivated you to start this social media awareness campaign? I work, in another area before, which it was preventing child abuse and neglect. And I'm just curious to know what was your motivation behind, because there's, having a great experience and a great childhood is so important, especially, as we know that no choosing or not having a great childhood or not having a great education can have, it can cause a lot of trauma and be highly problematic for families today.
Well, first, I just want to be clear. I'm not the founder of School Choice Weeks. We have some great charitable partners who are, and they came up with the idea. And I joined the first year. I was working in communications. And then the year after that, I was chosen to be the president. And it's been such an honor to work with 25,000 schools, thousands of community organizations, and millions of parents every year and over the last 11 years. And what we set out to do in the beginning was to talk about school choice in a way that did not focus on arcane policy details as much as it did presenting this topic in a way that was approachable for parents. If they were sitting around a kitchen table with their family, or if they were out to lunch with a friend, they could talk about it and understand it. Because school choice, before National School Choice Week, there were groups out there, but they would talk about one type of choice. So it was about private school choice, or it was about charter schools, or it was about open enrollment in traditional public schools, or it was about homeschooling. And a lot of folks got the perception that this movement was about only one type of school or another. And in reality, it's not. In reality, it's a very broad, diverse movement filled with tons of variety, people from all aspects of the political and ideological spectrum, or no political views at all. And so we wanted to focus equally on all 6 sectors: public, charter, magnet, private, online, and home. And I know I repeat them constantly, but it's so important to remember them. And we wanted to do it in a way that appealed to people and was fun. And that's why we have bright yellow scarves. We take place in January, because January is the time of year when people need to start searching for schools for the next school year. A lot of our events in the past, when we did in-person events before the horrible pandemic, were out in the cold. So these kept you warm, and they were bright, and they sent a message that tomorrow can be a brighter day if you have the opportunity to select a learning environment for your kid.
I'm talking about the pandemic. Do you think that for the first time, America, Nevada, I'm seeing it locally. I have boots in the ground and I work with families very closely every single day. Do you think before it was hard to explain it because if it's not something that you haven't heard about it, but with the pandemic specifically, and I want to make this clear. I support online learning. I think it just depends it depends of the person. Me as an adult that I'm still pursuing higher education, I have found that if you do it right, you can learn the same. It's saving me time as a mom, and I have to work full time. It has been fantastic that I have an option to be able to be with my professor. I don't have to drive. I don't have to, miss time with my family. However, for my kid that is 3 years old, that probably wouldn't be the best setting.
Right.
So I have found that a lot of people are talking about school choice, and you're saying the pandemic has not stopped the discussion. And more than ever, it seems like this week has been tremendous. Specifically for you guys, I'm seeing videos being made by parents, and I have never seen this level of engagement on social media and online op-eds. What are you seeing? Tell me about what you're seeing in other states.
Same thing. And let me just talk about the online learning thing for a second, because I think it's really interesting. And you bring up a great point. There is a huge difference between full-time online schooling that is run by schools that have been set up, in many cases, for more than a decade to educate kids online. A big difference between that and the emergency remote learning platforms that were set up to deal with this pandemic. And in some cases, they were set up with only a few weeks' notice because nobody knew how bad this pandemic was going to get. And so when we talk about online learning, I think it's important to make the distinction, because a lot of families who have struggled with the emergency remote learning but have switched their kids to a full-time online school have said it's completely different. My kid's not sitting in front of Zoom for 7 straight hours. And so there is a big difference. But you're right, because of emergency remote learning, a lot of families have said, this is not working for my kid. I cannot imagine going another week like this, let alone another month, or heaven forbid, another school year. And so families are saying, I need another option now. And so you're right, Valeria. It was hard before to talk to some families about school choice because they would say, well, we don't need school choice here. We got a great local school. And we would have to say to them, I know we have a great school. It's got great grades, great rankings, great ratings, but it's not the right fit for some kids. It's not working for some kids. Don't they deserve a good opportunity too? Now, every parent in America at one point or another during this pandemic has looked at a proposed plan for remote learning or reopening or hybrid or this going back and forth between the two and said, that's not going to work for my child. I need another option. So everybody can walk in the shoes of the parents before who felt like, I know this might be a good fit, but it's not the right fit for us. So that's why we're able to talk about school choice more now. That's why we're able to connect more with people now, because we all share the same experience. All families are sharing the same experience, and there's a greater understanding. And I hope that greater understanding and empathy and willingness to walk in other people's shoes continues when we all get vaccinated and this is all over with, because that's the way we're going to improve life for everyone, especially kids.
Yeah, and I even think that it has taught us so much, right? Like you can let a crisis go to waste. And here, particularly in Nevada, kids at the beginning of the pandemic, we were not set up. We didn't have a plan B. So some of the charter schools were able to adapt more quickly because they did, some of the schools. But when you have a system that it wasn't set up with the traditional public schools, they weren't ready. So we didn't have internet for all the kids. We didn't have laptops for all the kids. And community really raised to the occasion. There was families and organizations and everybody knocking doors trying to identify who were the families that needed the support. But it took time. And it took a lot, it wasn't until the end of August that we were just identifying who were the kids that needed a laptop or needed connectivity. And we're talking to, the internet prophets and asking them, hey, can you please help us? Can you please support us? Specifically, I seen, the minority communities and or low income communities perhaps were the ones that suffered the most. And now because of that, we have micro schools. City of North Las Vegas and all the cities here decided to find a different way to bring their facilities and allow them and implement it to provide education. So now we have, all of a sudden we have micro schools. I seen in the pods is something that, happened all across the country. And like myself, right? I have a plan. I had a whole list of the things that I wanted when my child was 3 years old. Then the whole plan was to scratch that plan. Let's find another plan. And I learned in the whole process that I needed to be more open to different ways and how I can be engaged in the process and not necessarily rely on others to make sure and ensure that my kid was at the level that needed to be. So I really think it has changed everyone. It has changed parents. It has changed institutions. It has opened our eyes to realize that the one system that we have, or all the systems that we have to change, and we have to adapt. So I think that a school choice, a school options is right now on fire, and we're gonna see a lot of change from this pandemic, specifically in the educational system.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And one of the things I hope we don't sweep under the rug when the pandemic is over is the reality that for too many families in this country, they do not have internet access. And if you have multiple children in the household, you might not have devices for all of them. And they all needed to connect at the internet at the same time during this pandemic. And the parents had to help them navigate all these different classes. And if you have two parents or even one parent and they work during the day and they had to leave the house, where do their kids go to do the emergency remote learning? And we saw communities rise to the challenge there too. But if we're going to use technology to educate kids in the numbers that we saw during this pandemic in the future, we have to do a better job of it. We have to harness technology more effectively to educate children, just the way all of these video game manufacturers have been able to hook kids to keep it interesting and keep it fun and keep it exciting. We've got to learn some of the lessons from them, as well as from the folks who run the full-time online schools, so that if we ever find ourselves in a situation like this again, we can turn it on and not have as many problems as we did this time around.
Yes. And well, I hope that things change and get better. I saw that a lot of the families, for example, were not really prepared either. They didn't have, the kids are the ones that manage the technology, and there was a curve, right, in adapting how to use, for example, here they use Canvas. Parents did not have the technological tools to be able to navigate that, online system. But I think that from that, from not knowing, now they know something, they know more, and they have set up, I seen rooms being set up in their homes and them learning with their kids and being really part of their education process. So I really think it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I'm so glad that you guys are bringing so many resources to the community. This year, you guys even launched it at the Spanish website.
Yes.
A Spanish website for families to find in different languages resources on how to choose the right school. And the new way to find your school tool, which is something that we are asked every single day. How do I find a school in my neighborhood? So very excited to be able to share that. And I wanted to thank you, Andrew, for all the tremendous work that you guys are doing, bringing awareness, making us all wear yellow. And if you don't have a scarf, doesn't matter. Just take a photo, wear yellow. That's how we did it here in Nevada. Because not everybody has a scarf. So I had a lot of moms asking me, and they created even their own scarves, and they are all wearing. I saw some moms, like they got really creative with, they made it a yellow contest, and they were putting flowers, turning on, like even their pets got, some sort of school choice awareness. But I wanted to thank you for your time. Thank you for the work that you guys are doing. Tremendous work. And thank you for bringing awareness to the community. And we're always here, happy to host you and have you sharing all these resources. And we do this again next year.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It is wonderful to see you. I can't wait to see you in person. And I want to thank everybody who watched today for listening and hopefully spreading the good word about school choice.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day. And thank you, everybody that is watching. We're going to start doing this show a little bit more often until we get completely comfortable. But I think it's very important to be talking about education weekly and bringing guests like Andrew to talk about the importance of a school choice and how we get more involved so that parents, we know what's going on nationwide and statewide. See you next week.